Vietnam War remains one of the defining conflicts of the 20th century. Its legacy continues to influence international relations, military strategy, and historical understanding. More importantly, it reminds us that behind every conflict are millions of human stories that deserve to be remembered. France's defeat at Dien Bien Phu ended nearly a century of colonial rule and opened the door to a divided Vietnam. Two governments now claimed legitimacy. In the north, communist leadership under Ho Chi Minh. In the south, an anti-communist government supported by the United States. Vietnam became one of the Cold War's most important battlegrounds, where international rivalries shaped local events. Armed resistance against the South Vietnamese government increased, particularly in rural regions where conflict steadily intensified. The United States increased military assistance, believing that supporting South Vietnam would help contain the spread of communism. Vietnam's dense jungles made the battlefield unlike any previous modern war. Visibility was limited, and the terrain challenged both sides. Events in the Gulf of Tonkin led the United States Congress to authorize expanded military involvement. By 1965, large numbers of American combat troops were deployed, marking a major turning point in the conflict. Unlike earlier wars, this conflict often had no clear front line. Battles could emerge almost anywhere, making every patrol uncertain. By 1965, the United States had moved from advising South Vietnam to committing large combat forces. President Lyndon B. Johnson believed that preventing South Vietnam from falling was vital to American Cold War policy. Large-scale air campaigns sought to place pressure on North Vietnam's military infrastructure and supply network. The campaign reflected the belief that sustained air power could influence the course of the war. A vast network of jungle paths became one of the most important supply routes of the war. Despite difficult terrain and constant pressure, it continued to support North Vietnamese and Allied forces. Beyond the battlefields, ordinary families experienced the greatest hardship. Many lost their homes, their farms, and their communities as fighting spread. Although fought in Vietnam, the conflict drew in support from multiple nations. It became one of the most internationally significant confrontations of the Cold War. For the first time, television brought images of war into homes around the world. Public opinion increasingly influenced political decisions.
Good evening. Tonight, reports from Vietnam show heavy fighting.
My God, this is terrible.
Casualties are rising on both sides.
As the years passed, it became clear that neither side could achieve a quick victory. The conflict demanded immense sacrifices from soldiers and civilians alike. By the end of 1967, the conflict had reached a critical stage. Both sides prepared for events that would soon reshape the course of the war. The next chapter would become one of the most significant turning points in modern military history.
Major cities, including Saigon and Hue, became battlefields. Fighting reached places that many believed were secure.
Contact left! We have time to get out!
Contact at left! Take cover!
Hue witnessed some of the longest and most destructive fighting of the offensive, leaving much of the historic city damaged. Although many attacks were eventually repelled, television coverage changed how people around the world viewed the conflict. In 1969, Richard Nixon became President of the United States, inheriting a conflict that had already lasted for years.
The greatest honor history can bestow is the title of peacemaker. We are caught in war, wanting peace. We are torn by division, wanting unity.
The policy of Vietnamization aimed to transfer increasing responsibility for combat operations while reducing the number of American troops.
Soldiers, ready your weapons. Aim steady. Good, hold that position.
As fighting continued, representatives from multiple sides met repeatedly to search for a negotiated settlement. Diplomatic talks progressed slowly because of deep disagreements. Even while negotiations continued, combat remained intense across many regions of Vietnam. Year after year, increasing numbers of American troops returned home as the withdrawal continued. The Paris Peace Accords called for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of remaining American combat forces. Although the agreement reduced direct U.S. military involvement, fighting between North and South Vietnam continued. Despite diplomatic agreements, the conflict did not immediately end. One by one, key cities changed hands as South Vietnam's defenses weakened. On April 30th, 1975, Saigon fell. After 2 decades of conflict, active fighting ended, and Vietnam entered a new chapter in its history. Vietnam was reunified under one government, bringing political unity after years of division. The Vietnam War left millions dead or displaced, with lasting effects on families across Vietnam and many other countries. For many veterans, the war continued through memories that lasted long after they returned home. The conflict reshaped American politics, foreign policy, and public debate for generations. Vietnam began rebuilding after decades of conflict, facing enormous economic and social challenges. Although the Vietnam War ended, Cold War competition between major powers continued in other parts of the world. Historians continue to study the Vietnam War to better understand the costs of prolonged conflict and the importance of diplomacy. Today, Vietnam is a rapidly developing nation whose history remains deeply connected to the events of the 20th century. Across many nations, memorials honor those who served and those whose lives were forever changed by the war.